Hey there, it's Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button like you're Brandon Davies. You have consent. And if you haven't yet subscribed to CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. Today we are wrapping up the 20 teams we selected to include in our Summer Shootaround series. We've already published 19 episodes on 19 different teams.
You don't need to say them.
You can look it up yourself.
There we go.
We all work in alphabetical order, so we're wrapping things up with Texas. Rodney Terry's Longhorns finished 29-9 last season, went 12-6 in the Big 12, won the Big 12 tournament, got a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Texas beat Colgate, Penn State, Xavier, made the Elite Eight, and then the Longhorns lost to Miami 88-81, one game short of the Final Four. Top 3 scores from that team are gone, but Tyrese Hunter, Dylan Dessou, Dylan Mitchell, all back, and UT enrolled some nice transfers in the former Max Asmus and Caden Shedrick. That's why I've got Texas ranked 20th in the top 25 and one. We'll see what Norlander thinks about that next, but first, a word from our partners.
For the people I was made for this. I was made for this. For the people I was made for this.
All right, Deadleg, Texas, as a preseason top 20 team, would you kiss it?
No.
Or would you kill it?
Okay. Kill it more than kiss it. Top 20?
Top 20.
Top 20. I don't know. Looking into this Texas team, one of us got to be bad cop in this, I guess. You're so often the good cop on these summer shoot-arounds. So for this one, they can get there. They're a Big 12 contender. Let me go big picture first before we home in on what they're working with for this season. So Rodney Terry gets the job, and Texas fans dialed into this are all too familiar with the route that was taken to get the job. But remember, Chris Beard got this gig, an alum of that university, and have the state-of-the-art arena. And the idea was that you were going to lure him away from Texas Tech, in-state rival, intra-conference rival at the time. Will only be the case for one more season, of course, because Texas is off to the SEC. And then that all blew up. So Terry winds up getting the job. But from the second week of December, when Terry became the interim coach, to pretty much like the Big 12 tournament, the assumption from the outside in, and maybe from the inside in, honestly, reflecting back on that time, was that Rodney Terry had a high mountain to scale to actually win this job, because it is Texas. It is a job that is regarded in the industry as one of the top 10 jobs in Division I men's college basketball. And if that is your description, you should be able to bring in a fairly accomplished coach that is either active somewhere else, maybe recently just left a different spot, could be at the professional ranks. That did not happen. It was a confluence of events. Obviously, Chris Del Conte, the athletic director, could not procure such a coach. And Rodney Terry also made it difficult because he did have an outstanding record. He guided Texas to a 29-9 season and, amazingly enough, got Texas to its first Sweet 16 and its first Elite Eight in 15 years. An incredible job. Gets a 5-year deal worth $15.3 million. Now, is he going to be the guy? Will we look up in 5 years and find Texas in about this kind of spot? A little bit better, a little bit worse, much worse? Don't know. He coached 7 years at Fresno State, 3 more at UTEP, and then left that UTEP job to be Beard's top assistant. So there haven't been too many analogs in the past 5, 10, 15 years in Division I men's basketball where you've had a coach get a top 10 job under these kinds of circumstances and basically the way that he wound up getting it. But he got it. I mean, Texas men's basketball has been on quite an interesting journey over the past 3, 4, 5 years, because remember, the Shaka Smart was there. We'll get to Shaka a little bit later on the pod. And Texas was good, but it was not hitting its ceiling or reaching its potential there. And then Shaka found an escape hatch, goes to Marquette. He's obviously thriving there. Go listen to that shoot around if you haven't already. We touched on the Golden Eagles. But now with Rodney Terry, I mean, in talking to people around the industry, there's a lot of people that think he will make it, GP, that Rodney Terry is going to steady Texas, have them be competing in the top 4 of the SEC moving forward beyond just this year, and will prove to have been the right guy for the job. Others are more skeptical. Others, because he, had he not been in the position, he wouldn't have been a candidate for the job to begin with. But you know what? He's off to a good start. We'll see if he can keep it going this season. I'm not convinced Texas is a top 20 team because of what it lost, but I am in the camp that Texas has to be evaluated in the top 30 heading into the season.
It is true that Rodney wouldn't even have been a candidate for the Texas job if he were not on Chris Beard's staff and best positioned among the people on that staff to inherit that team on an interim basis when Chris was first suspended and then ultimately terminated because of a high-profile incident with his former fiance. I don't think Rodney has to apologize for that though. I'm like the sport is filled with people who only got an opportunity like the opportunity they got because of where they were in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like would Brian Dutcher would he have been a candidate for the San Diego State job if not for the fact he was Steve Fisher's longtime assistant and on the San Diego State staff?
No,
Brian
but
Dutcher's
he did turn down other opportunities to make sure that he was positioned for that. But I hear what you're saying.
But you get the point. Here's a better one. The year before Josh Pastner got the Memphis job, I think it was the year before, he couldn't get the Rice job. He interviewed for Rice, or at least tried to get involved at Rice. Couldn't get it. Then he gets the Memphis job when Memphis is coming off 4 straight Sweet 16s. Why? John Calipari leaves for Kentucky. Memphis administration tried to hire a million other people. It couldn't work. And they finally just said, you're the best guy for this job. Take it. We don't know that you deserve it. We don't know that you would get it under different circumstances, but under these circumstances, the job is yours. John Shire couldn't get the DePaul job. Because he was on K's bench. So, timing and positioning is sometimes like that's the key to all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Stevens probably doesn't become the Butler coach if he ain't on staff at Butler.
And if didn't Licklider leave for, let me look that up real quick and we can stick on Texas. Did Licklider leave for Iowa, which opened the door for
I think
Stevens?
that's right.
He did. Yes, he did. Licklider left for Iowa. They made the Sweet 16 in 07. Stevens was on staff. Stevens, who didn't even begin his career in coaching period. And now look where he is. So yes, so many of these things are circumstance. You can,
so many of them. I've long believed, now this Texas thing's a different deal because you get one of the best jobs in the country just by being on staff when they need a coach. That's not normal, but I've long thought the best. I'd like to see a study done on this. Maybe we should do it. I wonder if the best thing if your goal is to get a good job as quickly as possible, should you go be an assistant for the hottest mid-major coach in the country? Go find the 5 hottest mid-major coaches in the country and go get on their staffs, because those guys are eventually going to move on, and those schools often promote from within because it's just like, got to keep it going. Yeah. And this guy's been around. So a lot of mid-major coaches, they get their first job because the guy they worked for moved on to a bigger job, and they're just right there. And in the spirit of keeping it moving in this direction, we'll just promote from within. Loyola Chicago, a good example of that. Now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Rodney Terry got the job in part because he was in the right place at the right time. That is not to say he didn't do a good job with the job when he got it. When Chris Beard got suspended, it was December 12th. Texas was 4th at KenPom on that day. Chris Beard's gone. They're 4th at KenPom. They finished 5th at KenPom.
Yeah.
22-8, Rodney Terry's record as the interim coach last season. Finished alone in second in the Big 12, 1 game back at Kansas, won the Big 12 tournament, went to the Elite 8 after getting a 2 seed in the tournament. He deserved the job. And now we get to see where it goes from here. But I will say, off to a great start. So much about can Rodney Terry do this job comes down to, can he roster build the way Chris Beard was able to roster build? And at least through 1 year, he's been able to do that. Adding Max Asmus, that's big time. Adding Keaton Shedrick, that's helpful. And he's got a team that, even if I think it's borderline top 20 in the preseason. Torvik has Texas preseason top 13. There's a computer out there that's got him preseason.
Boy, top
Yeah.
13. That is aggressive.
So Rodney did a great job. Okay, can he coach it though? Well, he took over for one of the best coaches in college basketball and kept it about what it was always supposed to be. Good coaching job last season. Okay, but what happens when those players are gone? Can he keep getting that level of player to keep Texas at the level at which it wants to operate? Well, at least through his first offseason, I think he did. Texas will not be the favorite in the Big 12. That'll be Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
But Texas will have a shot to finish top 4 in the Big 12 with, I think on paper, Kansas, Houston, and maybe TCU or Baylor. Mm-hmm. And if you can finish top 4 in the Big 12, top 20 in the country, I think you're doing a good job. And that's very realistic for Rodney this upcoming season.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun race in the Big 12, and even top 4, top 5, Texas will be squarely in the mix there. Gone are Marcus Carr, Timmy Allen, Serge Jabari-Rice, Christian Bishop, and then Arterio Morris, kind of the 5 most productive. Those first 4 really more productive overall. And so that's a big ding, GP. Tyrese Hunter, Max Abmas. Now, if those two, like Max Abmas is going from averaging 21 a game at the Summit League level for the majority of the season. Obviously, they played non-con games. He did all right there, and he held his own against power conference opponents in spots over the past couple of years here. But if Tyrese Hunter elevates to, top 20 player in America status, either, second, third team All-American or fringe All-American, that's one thing. And then if Abmas can continue to be a guy that's dropping north of 17, 18 a game, if he can do that, then we're talking something else here. So my projection factors in a little bit of, all right, let's see what Hunter does on offense. Overall, scoring obviously is a big part of that. We know he can play defense like hell, elite defender, really good distributor, very good leader. And then with Abmas playing alongside of him, that'll be something. Dylan Mitchell, all right, averaged 4.3 points, obviously flirted with the draft. He's back. Now you've got it. Don't be that. Texas has had some of these guys over the years where really looks really great coming off the bus, really good athlete, pops in moments, but the consistency isn't there. Dylan Mitchell needs to turn into a top 10 to 12 player in the Big 12 to, I think, give Texas a chance at being top 2, top 3 in the league. So we'll see on that. Dylan Dessou comes back. I like Dessou a ton. I would say he's undervalued nationally. I don't know if he's undervalued within the context of that league. If he is, I think that probably changes. So you've got a clear top 4 there. And then I'm thinking Caden Shedrick starts. We'll see. Caden Shedrick was he transferred out of Virginia because I don't think he thought he was getting the amount of touches and playing in the role that he wanted to play with. Now you play for Tony at Virginia. It's a different deal altogether, but now he's going to go down to Texas and he's a really good defensive player. And some of the on-off stuff was actually really good for Shedrick last season at Virginia. If he is the starting primary big, then I think they've got a really good core to start with there. Questions about depth. Cunningham's going to play. Rock Cunningham will stir it up with anyone. Super tough guy. He's got gumption. He's got all that. Seems like he's been there for 16 years, but him being back is not insignificant. I actually think it means a ton for this roster overall, GP, and then you can run down the rest if you please. But you've got enough here from a starting 5 standpoint that will give Texas a chance against almost any other starting 5 in the country. But as any coach will tell you, the starting 5 means the most, but you really need to have, in terms of practice and prep, and then once you get into games, like you got to have 1, 2, 3 off the bench that can really produce there. The Dylan and Dylan combo, spelled differently, by the way, is going to be big. I expect Tyrese Hunter to make a big jump, and then we'll see if Abmas can truly make the transition from mid-major ball into the best conference in America. I'm not going to automatically assume that's the case, but he's an old guy, and he's certainly got a decent chance.
I think you've got the starting lineup right. 3 returning players, 2 transfers. I would think Shedrick is at the 5. Dylan Dessou at the 4. The backcourt, Tyrese Hunter, Max Abmas, I think that's terrific. One of the best in the country. The most interesting, like the X factor on this team, if you will, is Dylan Mitchell. I'm fascinated by what he's going to be this season. And I don't know that I'm optimistic. Like, he's a top 10 player in his high school class. All right. This guy was ranked in the class of 2022 ahead of Keontae George, Cam Whitmore, Jarris Walker, Brandon Miller, Anthony Black, Grady Dick, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Jed Howard. All those guys are in the NBA now. He was ranked ahead of all of them.
That is a nugget. No, which isn't to say like his career, and I know you're saying this, but just so we're clear here, his college career is not a failure. Okay. But he's running his own race. And that is surprising to hear the names that he was ahead of coming out of high school.
Oh, we don't have to sugarcoat it, though. No, I wouldn't use the word failure, but off to a not great start. I mean, you'd have to concede that.
Underwhelming is fine. But you also take into account who was playing around him last season. So I hear you.
He averaged 4.3 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 17.4 minutes per game. That is wildly unusual for a top 10 prospect. He was smart to withdraw from the draft. But the thing we're going to find out this year, I think, is he a prospect or is he a player? And if he's just a prospect, how long is he going to stay a prospect? Because the thing that stood out to me about him last season, trivia time.
Oh boy, I don't suspect I'm going to be able to hit a Dylan Mitchell trivia time, but let's go.
What did Dylan Mitchell shoot from 3-point range last season?
Oh boy.
For people who don't know, he's a 6'8" wing, tremendous athlete. In theory, supposed to be the type of athletic wing that all NBA franchises desire. That's why he was a top 10 player coming out of high school. It's why he's been considered an NBA prospect. How many what percentage from three did he shoot last season?
I'm going to obviously say this is not good. I will say 23.6%. That is a guess in the dark.
Okay. You're off. You're high.
I'm high.
You're high. And you're high by exactly 23.6%.
Stop it right now. He didn't take one.
He didn't make one. He didn't even take one.
How
are you going to the NBA as a 6'8" athletic wing who doesn't shoot three?
One 3-pointer. Wow, that is GP. That is a top 5 nugget of this entire shoot around series you just dropped right there. Wow.
He did not take one. Wow. He played 17.4 minutes per game, appeared in 38 games, started 38 games. He did not take a single 3-pointer. How long are you a prospect if you're a 6'8" wing who doesn't shoot from the perimeter?
Yeah, no, that's got to change. And you would think that the fella has been in the lab, as the kids say, and working on that more than anything this offseason. Even if there are many other areas to improve, you cannot hand in a resume, go into the league and say, oh, by the way, 0 for 0 from behind that arc. Can't happen.
No, you can't. They won't take you. They will not take you. So I don't know if he can shoot that shot, but if he can't even take them, there's no place for him in the NBA. I don't care how athletic he is. And you mentioned, and this has kind of been it's not exclusive to Texas, but man, it does seem like they've had some high-level prospects who I'm not blaming anybody. It's just Kai Jones a few years ago.
Went to the Hornets?
I think that's right.
How's that working out? Nada, how's the Kai Jones thing working out? I honestly don't know.
Not well at all.
Okay.
The reason he popped into my head is, was it Summer League? I guess he played Summer League. And it went, and first off, he shouldn't be playing Summer League. Like, if that's a bad sign, you're still playing Summer League. But apparently the night he got picked, it's like these draft things that go viral, right? I've had them with Javon Quinterly and a few other players. And Jordan Poole. But apparently on the night Kai Jones got picked, I said something along the lines of, he might be a good basketball player someday, but he has never been one so far. You know, he's just never been a good basketball player. And somebody retweeted it and was like, this is still true.
Oh, yeah. No, I was like, no one found you on that one, GP.
Yeah. And so it sort of, it didn't go viral, but I was made aware of it again. So there's an example. Like, guy was a terrific prospect, looked the part. Oh, man, if you could design a basketball player, that's what you want him to look like. Can't play. And I wonder if Dylan Mitchell is going to end up. I hope not. Obviously, I'm not out here rooting against young people. I'd love to be. I don't even want to say wrong because I don't even know I'm just skeptical that this is going to be what I'm skeptical he'll ever be what you're supposed to be when you're ranked in the top 10 of your high school class. I'd love to see him become all of that, but I'm skeptical that it's going to happen. And my biggest concern is that it's not like you know what? I'd honestly feel better if he took 4 threes a game and shot 23.6%. Because I'd be like, listen, he's still taking 4 a game.
Yeah.
They're letting him take 4 a game. there's got to be something there. He took 0. That's not a good number for a wing who aspires to play in the NBA.
Quickly on the rest of the schedule, and then the rest of the roster, and then we'll hit the schedule there. They've got Texas brought in transfers from UTEP, UT Arlington, UCF. They've got a 4-star top 100 player. The freshman coming in is of note, I guess, is Chris Johnson. Shendel Weaver is from UT Arlington, averaged 9.5 points per game. Zarik Onyema, I hope I'm getting that right, 7.1 points per game at UTEP. And then Theo Horton out of UCF, 12.3, who will definitely be in the rotation there. His minutes might get squeezed a little bit because of the other guys around him that are a bit more established, but he'll definitely get some good burn there. But I just think there are questions after, the starting 5 and just what the rotation looks like there. And so that's why I'm a little, but if you tell me that Mitchell absolutely hits, and we got.
There is often a breakthrough for like 5-star sophomores. They had subpar freshman seasons, and they only planned to be there a year. Now they're back in school because it didn't go so well the first year, and then it's like noticeable improvement immediately. I hope that's true. I'm skeptical. One guy I'm not skeptical of, Max Asmus. I think he's going to be terrific. If you're worried about Dylan Mitchell not shooting threes, Max Asmus will take them. He'll take them.
Yes.
He'll take all of them. He took 319 3-pointers last season and made 37.3% of them. Trivia time.
Okay.
How many players last season in college basketball took at least 300 threes and made at least 37.3% of them, like Max Asmus did?
Okay. I'm going to say 2. Am I right?
You're low.
I'm low. Okay. This came up with a different player. It might have been a draft profile if it wasn't a shoot around. Someone else did this, and someone else I think was better than him. Give it to me.
There's 4 players who did this, and they all shot better. They shot more threes and a higher percentage. There's only 4, but there are 4. Okay. It's Liberty's Darius McGee.
McGee, yes.
Detroit's Antoine Davis.
Okay. Ooh. Okay.
UAB's Jordan Jelly Walker.
Okay.
And Northwestern State's Jamonta Black.
Who didn't know that?
Jamonta Black would have won that would have been where I got stuck.
Yeah. Would have gotten you.
They all took each one of those players took at least 326 threes and made at least 37.4% of them. But Max Asmus is, like, if you're putting together a list of high volume, reliable 3-point shooters in college basketball, he has been one now for 4 years in college. He's a 5th-year player, obviously led Oral Roberts, or at least helped Oral Roberts to that upset victory in the NCAA tournament a few years ago. He's been on the national radar for a while. Now he's going to be on it 2 times a week because he's playing for a prominent Big 12 program. And you always wonder, like, okay, these guys are awesome at the mid-major level, and they did it against high majors when they got an opportunity, but could they do it consistently at the high major level? We're about to find out. I think yes. I think he's going to be terrific.
Viewed as, recruited by, expected to be top 10 transfer, maybe top 5 transfer in this class. They will need him to be that if they are going to be a top 3 team in the Big 12 and make another second weekend run. Here is your schedule rundown for the Texas Longhorns in 2023-2024. It goes Incarnate Word, Delaware State, and Rice. Then Louisville in the Empire Classic. These schools have met 5 times. The last time Texas and Louisville met was the 97 Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. After that, in the Empire Classic, Texas will play either UConn or Indiana. Texas and IU have met just twice. The last time was in 2001. UConn and Texas have met 9 times. UConn leads that series all time 6-3. Then you've got Wyoming, Texas State, hello Shaka, at Marquette. Big 12, Big East battle. The only prior meeting of these schools, period, came in 1977. Texas at Marquette, that's got some good spice to it. And then they've got Houston.
How do Texas fans feel about Shaka? Do you have a sense for that?
I feel like I have a general sense, but you're always welcome to email the show, shouts to cbs@gmail.com, or find us on the tweet machine or anywhere else and let us know. But I think they were satisfied that the divorce happened when it did. And there was increasing angst over the fact that the program was not pushing through after, he had taken the job, had gotten first rounders, had some big wins in recruiting, but there wasn't enough success in the Big 12 and overall, but I don't think there's a ton of animosity there. This game will be in Shaka's confines up there in Milwaukee, Texas at Marquette. But that's kind of cool. And I know Shaka, at least from what I gather, and I've talked about it with him at least a couple times, holds no ill will whatsoever to Texas. So that is not a while it was like not like, his name was floated out there a couple times before he actually left. I don't think that's too big of a
yeah, that's my sense too. Like it's like, he's the former coach, but like, they don't want to see him fail. They don't care that much.
I don't think there's too much. Right. But if you're a pissed off Texas fan, feel free to find us. Houston Christian, then home to LSU, and then finish up because this is Big 12. They play 18 league games. There's 13 non-con games, so they've got A&M Corpus Christi, UNC Greensboro, and UT Arlington. I gotta say, it's the schedule feels a little light. Like if you tell me this is a top 20 team, their power conference teams are Louisville, then either UConn or Indiana, at Marquette and LSU. Feel like there should be one more in there. So with that in mind, it is a light non-con, and then you've got the Big 12, could be the best league in the country again. Again, I'm a little bit more of a seller big picture. I'm going over under at 22.5 wins for the Texas Longhorns. I will go first. I've had you go first on many of these. I'm going to say Texas in a solid season goes 21-10 in the regular season, will enter the Big 12 tournament with no doubt about its NCAA tournament participation. It will not be a bubble team. A lot of those losses will be quad one variety, but I don't think that Texas will be in the conversation to be a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed once we get into Selection Sunday.
They had 23 wins heading into the Big 12 tournament last season. Run me through that Connecticut part of the non-league schedule again.
Okay, so you got the Empire Classic. So they get Louisville first, and then they get UConn or Indiana.
Okay.
And then they're going to have Wyoming, Texas State. Then they're at Marquette. They get a bye game, Houston Christian. Then they're home against LSU. LSU is kind of a mystery this season.
Yeah, there ain't much there, is there?
I would say this game is now. Listen, you play in the toughest conference in the country, so I get that. But this schedule to me, just even swapping out one of these bye games for a solid top 60 level team. I'm not saying you got to schedule a ranked team. I don't know. It just feels like it's missing one game. It's not the worst schedule. I just thought it might be a little more challenging.
Well, sub out Louisville for somebody. Well,
yeah, that's out of Texas's hands. But
right.
Yeah,
but
I hear you. I hear you.
When you agree to be just to play devil's advocate, when you agree to be in the Empire Classic, you're like, well, we're going to get 2 good games there.
Yeah.
And then you don't.
Right.
Yes. So I'm going to say 2 non-league losses, not to stay consistent, but because like at Marquette, that's 1.
Yeah.
Right.
And then maybe UConn or
and then just something, UConn, but they can beat UConn too. Right.
Yeah, sure.
So just 1 somewhere else. I don't know where, just 1 somewhere else. 2 seems like a safe number.
Okay.
11-7 in the Big 12, which is like top 4.
Yeah.
All right. So I got 9 losses in the regular season, 31 minus 9. It puts me at 22.
22. You are under.
Then I've disrespected Rodney Terry.
Well, no, you have not. You have not. Let me assure you have not. We are both under. I'm 21.
I didn't want to disrespect Rodney Terry.
You're 22-9. That is your Texas Summer Shootaround, wrapping up our 20 school. We got 2 more coming though, but that wraps up the regularly scheduled programming with the Longhorns. These are 20 of the most interesting, talented, best teams, not in specific order. In terms of they weren't GP's top 20 as top 25 and 1, but there we go. Now we get to the auction winning portion for the rest of this week, GP.
Oh, I can't wait. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Huck Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to the Eye on College Basketball podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple and Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That needs to be reflected in the comments. So please knock that out. Rate it, review it, leave the comments. Thank you. We'll be back again real soon. Till then, take care.